Enhanced forward presence. When Russia annexed Crimea in 2014, the geopolitical fault lines of Europe shifted overnight. The act shattered decades of post-Cold War assumptions and jolted NATO into confronting a threat it had not faced since the Cold War, a militarily assertive Russia willing to redraw borders by force. In response, NATO sought to reassure its eastern members and deter further aggression with more than just words. In 2017, the Enhanced Forward Presence, or EFP, was born. It wasn't a full-scale deployment. It was a strategic signal, a tripwire of multinational battlegroups positioned in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland, ready to respond to any incursion. The concept was simple but powerful. Each battlegroup would be led by a different NATO power: the UK in Estonia, Canada in Latvia, Germany in Lithuania, and the United States in Poland. These groups, composed of about 1,000 troops each, were small enough not to provoke, but strong enough to fight if necessary. They weren't meant to win a war alone. They were there to guarantee that if aggression occurred, NATO's collective defense mechanism under Article 5 would be triggered instantly. It was the embodiment of deterrence through solidarity. What made the Enhanced Forward Presence so unique wasn't just its positioning. It was the unprecedented level of integration. Troops from over 20 NATO countries operated together, conducting joint exercises, sharing intelligence, and adapting to local terrain and threats. It wasn't about firepower. It was about demonstrating unity, interoperability, and resolve. Every tank that rolled across a Latvian field, every reconnaissance drone that flew over Polish skies, was a message. NATO is here, NATO is watching, and NATO will respond. The presence also served another purpose. It rebuilt trust. For the Baltic states, who had long warned about Russian intentions, EFP validated their concerns and cemented their place within NATO's core security framework. For newer NATO members, it erased doubts about the alliance's willingness to defend every inch of its territory. And for NATO itself, it proved that the alliance could adapt quickly to emerging threats with precision deployments rather than cumbersome bureaucracy. Over time, the battle groups evolved. They were reinforced with high-readiness elements, integrated into larger regional defense plans, and supported by frequent military exercises like Sabre Strike and Defender Europe. These drills weren't just practice, they were rehearsals for real scenarios, designed to stress-test coordination, logistics, and combat readiness across borders. The Enhanced Forward Presence also forced Russia to rethink its calculus. Faced with NATO troops on its doorstep, the Kremlin ramped up its own military posture, leading to a new era of tit-for-tat buildups. While this raised tensions, it also underscored the effectiveness of EFP. It had successfully restored deterrence in a region where peace had become fragile. Yet the mission is not without challenges. Sustaining long-term deployments, managing political consensus among NATO members, and avoiding accidental escalations require constant attention. But the alternative, leaving the eastern flank exposed, is no longer acceptable in a world where hybrid threats, misinformation, and conventional aggression blend into a dangerous cocktail.
Enhanced Forward Presence is NATO's most visible sign of adaptation in the post-Crimea era. It's not about preparing for war, it's about preventing one. A shield, not a sword. A line in the sand that says the alliance will not be divided, distracted, or deterred. And as long as that line holds, the promise of collective security endures.